Wake up! Welcome to episode of No Script News, where I gather some news that I want to talk about and just give it to you straightforward. I don't do no research, okay? So if I get something wrong, it's your fault for listening to me. And again, this episode is dominated by Nintendo because obviously the Switch 2 is a big old brouhaha and there's just so much information coming out. The latest is that it is being delayed. No, not the system, but the pre-orders are being delayed. It was supposed to be going live on the 9th or so of April, but instead they don't know when. And the reason why is because of Trump's tariffs. And I say Trump's tariff because he's the one who implemented the tariffs. It isn't anybody else's fault but his. And the people who voted for him now are Nintendo Switch 2 will probably most likely cost more money. See, a lot of people speculated that the reason why the Switch cost so much, $450, was because they were inputting the tariffs already, but it seems not. So it's Nintendo Switch 2 may cost Americans a significantly more amount of money because Trump is a stupid ass, and it is what it is. Now, besides this delay, there's so much Nintendo news coming out because, like I said, the Switch is a big old brouhaha. So I have a little list here on my paper where I have all my news written out. It's not that much today, but it is what it is. So let me just go down the list. And speaking of how much the Switch is going to cost now, in Japan, I guess they have their own version, a Japanese-only version that's region-locked to the country. And it's only going to cost $339 for the Japanese Switch 2. I mean, if you know Japanese, I guess you can import one, but it's going to be region locked to Japanese. So you're going to have to, actually know Japanese to play Japanese games. So even before the tariffs are going to be taking place, the system was going to be way cheaper in Japan, compared to the US, $450. So like $120 something cheaper in Japan. And I guess that's good for Japanese gamers. I mean, man, imagine getting a Switch 2 for $339. I mean, that's the way it should be. But we're living in these times, y'all. These times. So yeah, there's an international version, which costs more, and there's a Japanese version, which costs less. But if you're strapped for cash, we know GameStop is there to give you a deal. Not really. It's a ripoff. But if you want to trade in your Switch to GameStop, they will, towards a Switch 2, they will give you some money or, some credit. For a regular Switch version 1 and 2, they're going to give you $129. For a OLED version of the Switch, they'll give you about $170. And for a Switch Lite, about $110 or so. Here's a little graphic, whatever. I would just keep my Switch given these prices that you're trying to give us. They're going to double it for everybody else when they sell it, when they resell it. That's the way that GameStop does. This is where GameStop makes its money because it can't make money any other way, it seems, but to rip off gamers. You're better off using eBay or Facebook Marketplace if it's safe enough in your neighborhood to use. I am going to keep my Switch and I will not be giving it to GameStop. But for those of you who are dead set on getting a Switch 2 no matter what, and you won't need a Switch 1 and you don't want to sell it, I mean, I guess this is an easy way to get a discount on the Switch 2. But again, GameStop is there to rip you off and it's up to you to let them do it or not. Moving on. Cyberpunk 2077 on the Switch will cost $70, which is, still too much for the damn Switch game. Especially because it's still going to be an inferior version. It's going to cost you $70 on the Switch. The good news is that it's cross-compatible, so cross-save compatible. So if you want to, play on your PlayStation or Xbox, if you have it on that system, you can go ahead and play it on the Switch, and I guess your save would automatically be put on the Switch, which is freaking awesome. The Switch 2, which is freaking awesome. So you can, play on your Xbox at home, and then when you're on the go, play it on the Switch, or play it handheld on the Switch when someone else is hogging up the TV. I wish that you can only have to buy the game once and it'll be like cross system. But at least cross save is something. Now, this is the way that I want my Xbox to be. And I know, everything's supposed to be an Xbox. So if the Switch 2 happens to be an Xbox and I can take my Xbox games everywhere my Switch goes, then we're cooking with grease. And I say grease because Eric July says grease is cooking with gas. But anyways, we're cooking with grease here. Maybe then I will definitely buy a Switch 2 because I can take it on the go and not only play my Xbox games, but also play my Switch 2 games and some of my Switch games because a lot of them are not compatible yet. But then again, I still have to look at what Xbox has to offer when they, release their next Xbox handheld or their Xbox handheld, should I say. Sorry for the stutter, guys. Sorry for the stutter. Speaking of games for the Nintendo Switch, Elden Ring, which is going to come out for the Switch, doesn't look as good as it should, but whatever, it's a Switch. It's an inferior product when it comes to performance, but the game is not going to be on the disc. They're going to say one of those discs with the redeem code on it, so it's like a fake disc. And that kind of sucks. It sucks for those people who want to collect physical media. So instead of actually collecting physical games, it's fake physical games you're collecting with digital codes. And that's what Elden Ring is gonna be. And that really sucks. I mean, might as well just buy it digitally, which is gonna cost you the damn same as it would physically. At least it's not $80 like Mario Kart. But I mean, yeah. It looks like a lot of these games are going to be put on disc. At least I don't know. I think a lot of them are, like, especially third parties, because I guess it's cheaper. I don't know. I mean, it's still a disc being printed, so I don't understand. But it is what it is. Bravely Default is also going to be put on that disc, I heard. So Switch 2 game buyers out there, be warned. I mean, some of your games are not going to be actually on the little disc. It's going to be fake. Speaking of things that I heard on the internet, there's a rumor going around that Titanfall 3 is in development, which is pretty awesome. Now, I have Titanfall 2. I haven't finished it. I played Titanfall 1. It's a cult classic. It's not going to be a hit even if they are making it. But just the fact that they're making it because people wanted a second one, or a third one, should I say, especially how Part 2 was well received with critics. It didn't sell well, but I mean, again, a lot of these days, a lot of games don't sell well. But I guess it's good news that it's still being in development. But it's still a rumor. It hasn't been confirmed. Earlier, I heard that it was actually canceled. So, that's the way, the rumors go, I guess. So it's up to you to believe it. Don't blame me. Don't blame me. Because I'm just, regurgitating what I hear. This is no script news, guys, okay? I'm not researching anything. I'm just, looking at the headlines, reading the article, and I know what I think. And last but not least, Shenmue from Sega has been awarded the most influential game of all time. It was given the BAFTA award for it. And to tell you the truth, it's one of those games that, deserves this award. Especially because it was the one that actually was the trendsetter of next-gen games. The one that introduced kind of like the open world 3D environments. And when it first launched, it was freaking awesome being able to explore that little village and, actually have collectibles. Like each time you would go to those little gumball machines and have different type of collectibles. Like that was the first time in a game where we actually had something physical to look at. Yeah, like in other games you collect like coins and stuff. But this one you actually collect like different figurines. And live like actually a daily life. The people in the little village had, routines that they would do. A store had hours and it would open and close. It had 24-hour day and night sequence. When you play it now, it is a little dated, but the thing is, it set the trend for a lot of other open world games and what you can do in the game. A lot of more interaction into the game. Before that, there wasn't really much interaction with the environments and stuff. But this game pretty much did set the trend for it. Now, it was sad the way that it tragically ended. It almost had a resurgence, but by then, I think it was too late. People didn't really buy part 2, and 3. And I don't think it ended with part 3. They had the opportunity to actually end the story with part 3, but they didn't. I guess they're hoping that eventually someone will end the story of Shenmue. But Ryo Hasasoki, I forgot his last name. It's good to know that at least, this game is recognized for, being a trendsetter and what it did. And it influenced a lot of games out there, obviously. I'm not the only one that believes it because it got a BAFTA award for it. That's gonna do it for this episode. I know it's very Nintendo heavy. That's what it is. Pretty shocking that the Nintendo Switch pre-orders has been delayed. It seems that they're gonna actually, why delay it if they're not gonna increase the price? You know what I mean? Vietnam supposedly is trying to get an exemption from these tariffs. They want to negotiate with the White House and Trump one-on-one, and they want to get a postponement for 3 months. And if that happens, then maybe Nintendo will just go ahead with the pre-orders. It's going ahead with the launch. So we'll see what happens to the American market when it comes to the Nintendo Switch. But besides the Nintendo Switch, speaking of tariffs, it's going to affect a lot of products. So if there's something that you really need to, buy in bulk, like, just stuff that we use every day, like detergent, toothpaste, just stuff that's made outside of the United States that we use daily, toilet paper, I don't know. It might be a good time to stock up before you have to pay extra, because our products that are electronics, or, Nintendo products, Xbox games and stuff aren't the only thing that are going to be affected. It's going to be a lot rougher for a lot of things that we have to buy. Anyways, I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you for listening to another episode of No Script News. Remember, always be kind to yourself and enjoy your life. And I'll meet you right there. Peace.